Justin Jefferson sprints down the field effortlessly, reaching his top speed in just a few strides. His feet glide across the ground as if he's running on water, agile and smooth, and he's able to cut in another direction without ever breaking his stride. He moves like a storm, suddenly appearing out of nowhere and catching defenders by surprise in the blink of an eye. It's as if they're trying to cover a force of nature. There's one word that perfectly captures Jefferson's movements on the field, and it's one that's rarely associated with a sport that reveals the more brutal side of human nature. But after watching him long enough, with his last-second cuts, his unpredictable changes of direction, his body language that gives nothing away about where he's going, the word that makes sense to those who can appreciate the beauty of nature and see it as a form of contemplation is elegance. Watching him run is like flipping through a flipbook, where each page flies by in an instant. The Vikings are way ahead in the NFC North, and Jefferson is on track to break or come close to some NFL records. He's already the player with the most yards in the first 3 seasons of any player in NFL history. In 2022, he might even become the first receiver to reach 2,000 receiving yards in a season. He was the first to accumulate 3,000 yards in his first 2 seasons. Additionally, Jefferson and Michael Thomas share the record for the most receptions, 196, by a player in their first 2 seasons in the NFL. But stats are just mundane details. They miss the monumental moments, the ones where the eyes draw the landscape like an artist's canvas translating his talent through the brushstrokes of his hands. Justin, man, he's just different, said his older brother Ricky, one of Jefferson's 3 brothers, who played at LSU. He actually defies the laws of physics. Any attempt to ask Justin how he does what he does will likely bring only laughs or chuckles. He talks about his work, his many hours of training, and how he's always felt like the outsider, the youngest brother. At 23, he has the soul of an old man, but in some ways he's still a child. Sometimes he misses a Thursday press conference because he had to rush home to take care of the dogs. This excuse is so endearing that no one complains. When he laughs, which happens from time to time, he tilts his head forward, a habit that makes it seem like his body wants to get even closer to the joke. He certainly has something genuine about him, said Coach Kevin O'Connell in his first season with the Vikings. When you're around him, it's all very reciprocal. He has that big smile and a charismatic personality that everyone on the team loves and respects. But like any great player, when he steps onto the field, there's something inside of him that transforms. It's impossible to define the best wide receiver in the NFL purely by physical traits. All of them are fast, strong, and agile. The best one operates at a different frequency, one that only he can tune into. Jefferson has categorically stated that he believes he's the best receiver in the league, pointing out that what sets him apart is his ability to play anywhere. In the slot, on the wide, on either side of the field with double or triple coverage. To better understand this ability, we asked legendary wide receiver coach Jerry Sullivan, 78, who became Jefferson's mentor and personal coach after working as a consultant and offensive analyst during Jefferson's first 2 seasons at LSU. "Well, I have one word for you," Sullivan said. A few seconds passed. "I was worried we'd lost connection." "Sudden," he said loudly. "The word for Justin is sudden. It's a pretty abstract concept, but you've seen that catch, right? We've all seen it. Someone clicks to watch it again, retweets it, or examines it over and over until their eyes are burning. It was November 13th against the Bills for and 18. The Vikings are 4 points down with 2 minutes left, and Kirk Cousins does the only responsible thing. He throws the ball to his star receiver, right to Jefferson. "The craziest part is we talked about it, bro," Ricky Jefferson said. "We talk about him making a catch that would define a moment for him. Every season before it started, he'd say, 'I can make a one-handed catch.' And I'd say, 'Yeah, you'll make that catch that'll mark you. No doubt about it.' Cousins' throw was too strong, and it was desperately heading straight for Buffalo's defensive player, Cam Lewis. But Jefferson was close enough to try. He leapt backward, his body almost horizontal, stretching his entire frame through the air. His arm reached out, and his right hand plucked the ball from Lewis's grasp. As the play unfolded, Jefferson rolled on the ground with the ball, looking like the only person who wasn't surprised by what had just happened. "It was like poetry," Ricky said. 14 and 18, all the meaning being his number, against a Super Bowl caliber team in a critical moment of the game. At that moment, he solidified himself as the best wide receiver in the NFL. I can say that, and I'd like him to stay as humble as possible, but you need to know who he is. The catch was sudden, literally. The height of the leap seemed impossible seconds before it was achieved, and we were simply present for something that seemed unimaginable. There's something profoundly beautiful about seeing art unfold amidst chaos. That's why we watch. For these moments of clarity, sublimation, and the beauty of the human body achieving what seemed impossible until that moment. One of the first things O'Connell did when he became the Vikings coach was introduce himself to Jefferson. During his preparation, he watched hours of Jefferson's videos, and his desire to be his coach grew stronger and stronger. In his first press conference, he and Jefferson met via video call, and Jefferson arrived with a question that made O'Connell's soul ignite. So, how does Cooper Kupp always get so open? O'Connell, who had coached Kupp for 2 seasons as the Rams' offensive coordinator, could hardly contain his joy. Coaches love questions like this because they reflect a player's competitive spirit and good sense. Don't forget, it's the coach's job to make great players even greater. You want the honest answer? O'Connell asked. When Jefferson said yes, the coach responded, he can line up anywhere. He knows exactly what to do in any given situation and understands the concept of every play. Not just what to do, but how to put pressure on the defense. I want that too, Jefferson said. Well, it'll take a lot of work and time, O'Connell replied. It'll take a lot of commitment to understanding things very different from what most receivers do. O'Connell finished telling this story and anticipated another question before he was asked. How's this going to work? He asked. He embraced all of it. He's a unique player, and he knows that there are no boundaries limiting his possibilities. I probably train Justin more than anyone on the team because of how engaged he is and the expectations he has for himself. But he's different, and you have to train him differently because of that. You have to be careful not to push him too hard because he can become too stiff or tense in that situation. You need him free to do the unique things he can do. Jefferson dropped a few references to O'Connell in our conversation like, he does this like this and he does that another way. O'Connell leaned in, embarrassed, and said, I'm the same way. I genuinely love him,